Ask almost any Christian where demons come from, and you will get the same answer, delivered with total confidence. Demons are fallen angels. The story is so familiar, it feels like bedrock. A rebellion in heaven, a third of the angels cast down with their leader, and ever since, those fallen angels roam the earth as demons, tempting and possessing and destroying. Nearly every sermon assumes it. Nearly every movie repeats it. There is only one problem: the oldest detailed account of these matters, a book that the writers of the New Testament actually read, says something completely different. And what it says is stranger and, frankly, more disturbing than the version you were taught. In the next few minutes, I am going to walk you up to the real answer one step at a time, and I am going to hold the last step back until the end, because once you see where this book says demons actually come from, you cannot unsee it. Start with the belief itself, because you have to understand how solid it looks before you watch it crack. The fallen angel theory is stitched together from a handful of famous passages, and each one feels heavy enough to carry it. There is Isaiah chapter 14, with its haunting cry about the morning star fallen from heaven, cut down to the ground, the verse that in Latin gave us the name Lucifer. There is Ezekiel chapter 28, addressed on its surface to the proud king of Tyre, but painted in the colors of an anointed guardian cherub who walked in Eden and was cast out for his pride. And there is Revelation chapter 12, with its enormous red dragon whose tail sweeps a third of the stars out of the sky and hurls them down to the earth. Put those three together and you get the picture every believer carries without ever being taught it directly. A war in heaven, an angelic fall, a third of the host thrown down, a population of rebel spirits loose in the world. It feels airtight. It feels like it must be in there somewhere, stated plainly. But now look closer and notice the seam, because there is one. Not one of those passages actually says that the fallen angels became the demons. Isaiah is mourning the fall of a proud one. Ezekiel is condemning a king. Revelation is describing a cosmic war. None of them turns to you and says, "And these are the same creatures that possess people, the same spirits Jesus casts out into a herd of pigs." That connection, the link everyone treats as obvious, is never actually made on the page. It is an assumption laid across two separate ideas so smoothly that most people never see the gap it hides. And once you see the gap, a question opens underneath it that the popular story cannot answer. If demons are not obviously the fallen angels, then what are they? Keep that question lit, because we are going to climb toward it. And this is only the first floor. Here is the second crack, and it is the one that should really unsettle you. Go to the book the New Testament writers relied on for their picture of fallen angels in the first place, the ancient account of the watchers who came down and took human wives. Read what happens to those angels. They are not left free to wander the earth. They are hunted down by the archangels, bound hand and foot, and locked away in the valleys and pits of the earth to await judgment. Chained, underground, sealed. The New Testament itself agrees. The letters of Jude and Peter both say the angels who sinned are being kept in chains of darkness, reserved for the day of judgment. So follow the logic yourself, step by step, because this is where the whole popular story quietly breaks. If the original fallen angels are locked up, sealed away, held in a prison until the end, then they are not the ones out here. They cannot be the spirits you watch Jesus confront in town after town, hunting for a body to enter. The jailed cannot also be the ones running loose. You are being asked to believe the same beings are both chained underground and roaming free, and you cannot have it both ways. the most popular explanation collapses on its own timeline. So the fallen angels are in chains, and yet the world of the New Testament is absolutely crawling with unclean spirits. They fill the Gospels. Jesus casts them out in nearly every town he enters. They know his name. They beg. They convulse their victims. They plead not to be sent into the abyss. Picture the most famous case. A man lives among the tombs on the far shore of the lake, so violent that no chain can hold him, cutting himself with stones night and day. And when he is asked the name of the thing inside him, the answer comes back in a voice that is somehow plural. My name is Legion, for we are many. Then they beg to be sent into a herd of pigs rather than out of the region, as if being cast out of a body is a fate they will do anything to avoid. Somebody is out there, someone is doing the possessing, and whatever it is desperate to stay wrapped in flesh. But if it is not the imprisoned watchers, then a body of spirits exists that the popular theory has no origin story for at all. Where does an entire population of homeless, hungry, malevolent spirits come from? If not from the angels, the whole church blames. This is the part of the story most people never get told. So if the buried history of Scripture is what you came for, subscribe to the Enoch Vault and we will keep opening it a little wider. Because the book we have been circling does answer the question. It answers it directly, in detail, with a chapter dedicated to exactly this. But to understand the answer, you have to remember one thing the Watchers left behind when they were dragged off in chains. Hold on to it, because it is the whole key, and we come back to it in a moment. They left behind children. The union of the Watchers and human women produced offspring, not human, not angel, something in between, and something enormous. The giants, the Nephilim of Genesis, chapter 6, the mighty ones of old, men of renown. And these hybrids were a catastrophe on a scale the world had never seen. The old account describes them growing beyond any natural size, devouring everything the land could produce, and when the harvests ran out, turning their hunger on the living. They eat the animals, they eat the birds and the fish and the creeping things. They begin to eat one another. And at last they turn on the very people who bore them, on the mothers and the villages that first fed them, until the ground is soaked and the earth itself lifts up a cry to heaven. So heaven answered with judgment. The archangel Gabriel was sent to set the giants against one another, so they tore themselves apart in a civil war of their own kind, and then the flood came and washed the ruined world clean. And here is where everyone stops reading, satisfied. The giants died, the bodies fell. The flood buried the whole nightmare. But watch what the book does next, because it refuses to let the story end at the bodies. It asks the question no one else thought to ask. These giants were half spirit. Their fathers were spiritual beings from heaven, immortal by nature, and that heavenly essence was passed down into the children. So when a giant's enormous body dies, what happens to the spirit inside it? Think it through, because the book does. A human being is born of two earthly parents, so when a human dies, the body returns to the ground and the soul goes to the appointed place of the dead. An angel is pure spirit and never dies at all. But the giant is neither. It is a spirit clothed in flesh that was never sanctioned by heaven, a hybrid with no category, no appointed afterlife, no door marked for its kind. When its body is destroyed, its spirit does not go up because it was born of the earth. And it does not go down to rest because no place was ever prepared for a thing that should not exist. So where does it go? The flood could drown flesh. It could not drown a spirit. And the bodies of the giants, according to this book, released something into the world that the water could not touch and the grave could not hold. Now step back and feel how many separate threads are pointing at the same place. The fallen angels are chained, so they cannot be the demons. The Gospels are full of spirits that clearly are not in chains. The giants died, but their spiritual half had nowhere to go. And among the Dead Sea Scrolls, in a set of protective hymns scholars call the Songs of the Sage, copied around the turn of the era, the community left behind actual anti-demon incantations, songs they sang to guard themselves against spiritual attack. And listen to what they call the enemy. They call the evil spirits the bastard spirits. Now sit with that word, because in this world a bastard is not just an insult. It is a technical term for a being of illegitimate mixed parentage. Something born from a union that should never have happened, half of one kind and half of another. That is not how you describe a fallen angel, which is pure spirit through and through. That is how you describe something with two different sorts of parents. So here is a community, centuries before the Gospels, defending itself against demons and quietly filing those demons under a category that means half-breed. Different documents, written by different hands, buried in different caves, all of them circling one answer that the popular fallen angel story never even considers. Why do so many ancient Jewish sources describe demons not as angels, but as something born, something half-human, something that came out of the flood generation? Because they all knew what chapter 15 of the book of Enoch says out loud. And now I will give it to you, because you have climbed far enough to see it clearly. Remember what I told you to hold on to, the thing the watchers left behind. This is where it comes back. In the book of Enoch, chapter 15, God himself explains the origin of evil spirits to Enoch, and the explanation is chilling in its precision. The giants, born from the mixture of spirit and flesh, will be called evil spirits upon the earth, and the earth will be their home. Evil spirits, the text says, have come out of their bodies because they were born from human women and fathered by the holy watchers, and so their fate is fixed. The spirits of heaven belong in heaven, but these spirits were born on the earth, so on the earth they must remain. The text says they will afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, and cause trouble. They take no food, but they still hunger. They still thirst. And they rise up against the children of men and against women, because it was from them that they came. That is the answer. Demons, in the oldest detailed source we have, are not fallen angels at all. They are the disembodied spirits of the dead giants, the homeless ghosts of the Nephilim. When the flood destroyed their monstrous bodies, it set their spirits loose, and those spirits have been trapped on the surface of the earth ever since, unable to die because their fathers were immortal, unable to rest because they were never meant to exist, unable to leave because they were born of the dust and belong to it. They hunger with mouths they no longer have. They crave bodies because they lost the ones they were born in. And that, in the logic of this book, is exactly why the spirits in the Gospels do what they do. They are not tempting you from some grand cosmic rebellion. They are starving orphans of a drowned world looking for a home to crawl back into. Sit with what that reframes. Every time a spirit in the Gospels begs not to be sent into the abyss, every time one convulses a child or drives a man to live among the tombs, The older book would tell you that you are not watching a proud angel at war with God. You are watching the leftover hunger of a creature that died in the flood and never got to leave. The demon is not a rebel. It is a remnant. And a remnant is so much harder to look away from because a rebel chose its fate, but a remnant is just what survived the erasure and could not be killed. I owe you the honest caveat because I am not going to pretend this settles every question. Mainstream. Christianity fused two different ideas long ago, the fall of the angels and the source of demons, and treated them as one single story. Over the centuries, as the Book of Enoch was pushed out of the Western canon, the detailed origin of demons went out with it, and something had to fill the empty space. So readers reached for the dramatic fall of Isaiah and the war of Revelation and quietly assumed those must be where demons came from too. The gap got papered over, and the paper hardened into doctrine. Nothing in the canonical Bible actually forces you to separate the two ideas, and a careful reader can hold the traditional view and not be a fool for it. What the Book of Enoch does is preserve the older, stranger explanation that the New Testament writers clearly knew, the one that actually fills the gap the Bible leaves open. You can decide the book is right, or you can decide it is only an ancient theory. But you cannot say the answer was never given. It was given in detail, and then it was left out of the Bible that inherited its demons. And here is the last turn, the one that keeps me up. The book does not say these spirits will torment mankind forever. It says they will do it until one final day of judgment, the same day the chained watchers are waiting for, which means the demons and their imprisoned fathers are on the same clock, counting down to the same appointment. The orphans on the surface and the fathers in the pit, both waiting for the day the accounts of the flood generation are finally closed. That day, and what the book says actually happens when it arrives, is a descent for another time, because the same chapters that explain where the demons came from also describe where they are supposed to finally go, and it is not the lake of fire you are picturing. Before you go, I want to know which way this hit you. Does the idea that demons are the ghosts of the Nephilim and not fallen angels make the Gospels read differently for you? Or do you think the older book got it wrong? Put it in the comments, because the disagreements on this one are usually where the best thinking starts, and the vault is nowhere near empty. Subscribe, and the next door opens with you here.